Traditional politics in the Philippines has been defined as the mode of political contestation where the contending factions of the elite vie for the support of the people, especially during election time, through the cultivation of patronage and spoil system. Various models have been suggested to explain the preponderance of elite politics and the weakness of public institutions in the Philippines. The standard approach to analyzing Filipino electoral and party politics has been to view power relations within the context of the patron-client factional framework. Popularized in the 1960s by Carl Lande, the patron-client framework posited that social relations in the Philippines is not structured by organized interest groups or individuals who perceive themselves to be part of a specific social class, like in Western democracies. What exists is a network of mutual aid relationships between pairs of individuals that he called dyadic ties. The dyadic ties that are reflected in Philippine politics are vertical and unequal, which bind prosperous patrons who dispense material goods and services, and dependent clients who recompense with their support and loyalty. The cultivation and distribution of patronage have been enduring features of Philippine local politics. Its durability is built upon intricate networks of political clans, clientelistic ties, and political machines throughout the archipelago. Patronage refers to a divisible benefit that politicians distribute to individual voters, campaign workers, or contributors in exchange for political support. It is different from corruption since corrupt politicians exchange public benefits for private monetary gains. On the other hand, patronage involves the exchange of public benefits for political support or party advantage. In the past, the personalistic nature of patron-client linkages has traditionally been forged within rural and peasant-based economies. From the local Marxist perspective, Philippine society is semi-feudal and semi-colonial. The Philippine economy is still primarily agricultural, dominated by the persistence of feudal relations of production. Feudalism is the social base of imperialism. Imperialism and feudalism have prevented industrialization and the development of capitalism. Hence, the path towards liberation is a national democratic revolution led by an alliance of the workers, peasants, and the nationalist bourgeoisie and allied classes that will usher a transitional stage towards socialism. However, this version of Marxism-Leninism has been criticized for its dogmatic application of Maoist doctrine, for its failure to take into account changes in Philippine political economy, and for its reductionist interpretation of Philippine politics. The potency of the kinship system as an instrument of patronage was primarily believed to have diminished and replaced by the emergence of the political machine. The onslaught of economic transformation and modernity has largely depersonalized patron relations in the rural areas. Thus, the reciprocal relationship between leader and followers has become transactional. Political machines are specialized organizations set up to mobilize and influence voter outcomes through the dispensation of social, economic, or material benefits. These benefits are mostly patronage in the form of jobs, services, favors, and money distributed to voters and supporters. Political machines may be organized within or outside political parties. Parties that adopt a patronage strategy and rely heavily upon the distribution of patronage to mobilize support may or may not be extensively organized and highly centralized. Moreover, political machines do not need dyadic personal relationships since it is based on short-term materialistic benefits. For Francisco Magno, the rise of political machines as the primary expression of patronage politics was a result of the breakdown of the reciprocal and interpersonal system of exchange that was further facilitated by the rise of new social forces, for example, the working class, the urban poor, and the middle class, that cannot be subsumed solely within narrow patron-client loyalties. An opposite view from the notion of reciprocity of the patron-client factional framework underscores the concept of conflict, command, coercion, and even violence. Called by various scholars in several ways, such as caciquism, bossism, and sultanism, this view of politics is popularly known in the Philippines as warlordism. It is also colorfully labeled by media as 3 Gs, referring to guns, gold, and goons. While bossism presents a somehow convincing argument for the preponderance of local bosses in far-flung provinces, it empirically fails to take into account the downward trend of warlordism and political violence in other parts of the country since the 1990s. While there are still some warlords firmly secured in their fiefdom, a lot has also been dislodged both peacefully and violently. Other warlords have replaced some. Others have opted to be more sophisticated in their approach, making less use of brute force.